Hello, this is Francis Check from Video Realm Media, and today we're going to be taking a look at two of our new products, Fractal Rama and Locus Pack. These two new products were inspired from Video Copilot's work on the Star Trek Into Darkness credits. So basically what it is a bunch of planets and these fractals, which are to create like those smoke effects that you saw, and also some atmospheric effects like nebulas and kind of a fog around planets and all that. So here's Locus Pack just by itself. It was rendered without any fractals, and if you scroll down you can see how much those fractals actually do add to the renders, and it just makes it look so much better. Also, we include the OBJ and E3D files, and the texture formats are in a JPEG and PNG format. So as you can see here, there's the planets right here. So if you keep scrolling, you can see how you can create some of these really nice volumetric looking effects. This is all inside of Element 3D using Fractal Rama. I just got a few planes, stacked them on top of each other, and you can get some really nice results. Also, if you buy the Locus Pack plus Fractal Rama bundle, that will contain a project file which has a pre-rendered scene in there, and you can just add the planets in and you have a head start. So it really saves some time and it's worth it. Okay, so now we're inside of After Effects, and we're going to take a look at the products themselves inside of Element 3D. So first, let's create a new layer. So layer, new, solid. And let's just label this as Element. And hit OK. And then next, let's go down to Video Copilot, and let's drag on Element 3D onto our layer. And let's hit Scene Setup. Okay, so once this loads up, you'll see a Fractal Rama and Locus Pack here. And I'll have an install video for both PC and Mac, so those will be in the description. Just check those out if you're having any problems trying to install. Okay, let's check out Locus Pack first. So we'll open that up, and we'll go to Planets. And we'll go ahead and load this one up. So as you can see, the textures are very high resolution. You can really zoom in and see the detail on these. If you change the lighting inside of Element 3D, you can see it look much better. So usually I like to go for the natural lighting. Kind of just rotate this around. And I also like to change the environment photo as well, depending on what the planet looks like. So I have the backlight 4K environment pack from Video Copilot, so be sure to check that out. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one right here. You can change the environment rotation by holding down Shift and left clicking. And you can also change the lighting by holding Shift and right clicking. You can kind of just move this around so you can kind of see that. I've also included different illumination maps for many of these. So if you go down into the textures and the illumination map, you can just right click and go to Show and Explore. And it will bring up the texture directory. So for this first planet, I have 3 textures. There's the acid, which is currently on the planet right now. And then I have the fire and the ice. So let's just select the ice illumination map by just dragging it onto the illumination slot inside of Element 3D. And so now you can see how we have that texture on there. And the illumination maps look really nice. If you didn't want them, you could also just go down to the illumination map and just shut this off. You can just kind of have like a moon or something. But I usually just leave it on because it looks really nice. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other planets real quick. So there's Planet 2. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, again, the illumination maps really make these planets look unique, and they add a lot to it. Like I said, again, you can just shut off the illumination map and you can have just like a planet if you wanted, but leaving it on would probably be better. And here's Planet 4. This one looks pretty awesome. And it would be really good to show off our asteroid and debris folder, which comes free with Locus Pack. So what you can do is you can just click on these and it'll just start loading up inside of Element 3D. Okay, here we go. So we drag this out, you can see it's kind of that rock that's been exploded out of a planet. So what we can do is we can just rotate this wherever we like. So we just rotate it like this, grab it out. And the neat thing is we can actually just grab the planet texture and just drag it onto this, and we're done. So it kind of makes it look like it was exploded from this planet. And we also have all the different types of rock. So if we click on rock 3 and load this up and just bring it out here, we can also rotate it again, just outwards. and then just drag on that texture onto one of these rocks. You'll just see it change. So now can have this exploded planet. It makes it a lot faster. You could also use the particle replicator inside of Element 3D in the little menu inside of After Effects, but this makes it a little bit quicker and it speeds up the process a lot. Okay, next we'll be taking a look at our other product, Fractal Rama. And in here we've included these 6 planes. Basically what you'll be able to do is if you load one of these up and then we just kind of drag it out, you'll kind of see how it looks. It's like this displaced plane. So it's kind of just there with this fractal texture on there. But what we can do with these is we've actually included all the different textures. So all you have to do is right click on the illumination map and then go to show and explore. And we've actually included the colored JPEGs, the non-colored JPEGs, the colored PNGs, and the non-colored PNGs. So if you click on these, you'll see we have all these different colors on the JPEGs. And if you go to non-colored, you'll see how all of these are just without any sort of color. So we can just scroll through these. And these are very high quality. They're rendered in 4K. So if I go to one of these and say Fractal 29, we can just zoom in and just keep zooming in. And you'll just see that there is so much detail in these. You can just see it. These took a lot of time to render, but it was worth it. They look really amazing once you start to put them in Element 3D on those planes, and it just starts to look very volumetric. Okay, so what we can do is we can grab maybe one of these purple ones since the planet is purple, and we'll just drag it onto there, and you'll see that change immediately. So there we go. And I can see that the tint is a little bit off. So what we can do is just turn down the saturation just a little bit, and it'll go into our illumination settings. I'll just change this to the color of purple that we want. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, so maybe like that. It's pretty good. So what we can do is we can kind of just rotate these in place, put them where we want them. So just kind of put this one right here, you can rotate it out. Usually want to keep these only where the illumination map is. So something like this. So you can kind of see how it's starting to add this kind of atmospheric fog to it just with one of these. So you can keep on adding a bunch of these. So I'll add another one. I'll just kind of drag it out. And this one's like really displaced. So we'll just drag this fractal material that we have on our other fractal plane and we'll just drop it on there. And we can also just move this one back, rotate it a bit, and then move it off to the side, maybe on this part right here. There we go. Also want to just keep on adding these. So once I finish adding these, I'll show you the finished result. Okay, so I finished adding some of these fractals. And as you can see, if you just kind of move around, you can really see how it looks like a volumetric fog that's being rendered in real time. So it's really amazing. You can combine these with different planets, add different colors to them, and it just looks amazing. And the render speeds are really fast. So let's take a look at lighting and rendering. So let's hit OK. Okay, here we are. And so the first thing we're going to want to do is add a new camera. So let's go to Layer, New, Camera. And usually 50 millimeter is pretty good. So let's just go with that. If we hit C on our keyboard, we can kind of just rotate this. You can see how fast this is rendering. It's just, it's pretty incredible. So let's just move back a little bit. And let's just kind of position this where we want it. So maybe we'll have this planet kind of just off to this side. We may add in a few more planets on this side, but for now, let's just rotate this right here. Okay, so that's good. Next, let's go ahead and add our lighting. So let's go to Layer, New, Light. And usually I use parallel lights. Sometimes I will use point lights just for these bright spots, and I'll just kind of put it in there, and it looks like it's actually an emissive texture, which is pretty nice. But for now, let's just create our parallel light. So usually these can go up to about anywhere up in this range, about 300%. And the color we can tweak later. So let's just create our first light. And let's move this back. And then up. Kind of just want a backlight. So let's move this right here. And let's also turn on shadows. So We'll go to the shadows settings in Element, and we'll turn this up to 4K. And be sure to turn on your parallel light shadow size as high as possible, because we want the shadow radius to be as far as possible. So let's go ahead and close this out. Okay, there we go. So this light right here, I'm thinking that we may just make this a little bit blue, maybe a bluish kind of purple, like that. Okay, so let's add some more lights. So let's just click on light 1, and we'll just hit Control D, and that'll duplicate it. And we can just drag this light down here. You can really see how those shadows are starting to affect it. It's adding a lot of detail in there. So let's just drag it right about there. And let's change the color to more of an intense kind of purple. So kind of like this. Okay. And maybe even a little bit more color. So let's just go really intense here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then probably one more parallel light. So let's duplicate this one more time. And we can just grab it down here and just move it over to this side. I'll maybe make this one more of a whitish color. Maybe not as intense. So kind of like that. And then we can just grab this again and just do it as a backlight. We can also turn up the intensity if we need to. So we can just double click and increase this. Okay, that looks pretty good. We may add just one point light. So let's do that. Let's just hit Control D on one of these lights and then double click. And let's change it from parallel to point. And we'll change this a little bit more of a purple color, like this. And then we'll just drag this light right over here. You may not see anything happen yet. That's because it's behind the planet. Okay, so let's just bring this forward in Z space. So there it is. And let's just move it right over here and just right in back of these rocks. Okay, so like right there. And then maybe a little bit more forward, just so we can get that kind of emissive looking effect. So maybe let's increase the color a bit more. Maybe like right there. There we go. And we could also crank up the intensity a little bit more, just until we get, there we go. So we can see how it's kind of adding this nice light to the back of these rocks. Makes it look like it's actually coming from this planet. So next, let's kind of adjust our camera just a little bit. Maybe just like that. That's pretty good. And let's go ahead and add in our other planet. So hit scene setup. And before I continue, it's a good practice to keep all of your fractals in one folder. So the easiest way to do that is to click on the group folder that you're currently on and just add a new folder, and you can just call this fractals. Hit OK. And we'll just select all these fractals and we'll drag them into our fractals folder. So if we needed to, we could just grab it and rotate all of the fractals all at once, and it makes things a lot easier. Also, same thing for the rocks. You may want to do that. So we can just click on the group folder again and just make a new folder called rocks. Then we'll just select those two layers and drag them into the rocks folder. So now, same thing, we can actually just rotate all the rocks at once if we need to move them. Then we'll create one more folder, and this will be the planet folder. So if we wanted to duplicate the entire planet at once, we could do that as well. So we'll click on our group folder and create another folder. And we'll just call this planet. Okay. And we'll just drag it to the bottom so everything stays organized and nice. So now what we'll do is we'll get our rocks and fractal folder, and we'll just drag them into our planet pack. Now we have one folder that contains the planet, the fractals, and the rocks. So if we wanted to rotate, it would just rotate everything at once. And also if we wanted to duplicate this layer, we could just grab it, move it off to the side, rotate it in a different direction. Maybe we just want the back side, and just kind of move it like this. And say if we wanted to move the fractal and the rocks at one time, we can easily do that just by selecting these two layers. And we'll just move them over to this side. Just kind of drag them down and then move them forward. And that looks pretty good. We'll probably scale this entire planet down now, so we can just kind of drag down that little folder. And then we can move this over to this side if we wanted, since that's where it is in our composition. Actually, I can see that those fractals aren't touching, so we'll select those again and we'll just kind of move them closer like that. Then we can just rotate this to where we would like. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's hit OK. And you may run into this problem when you're trying to arrange your planets. This one's out of frame. So an easy way to actually edit these planets inside of this viewer would to put it in an auxiliary channel. So let's click on Scene Setup. And we'll select the first planet to be on auxiliary channel 1 and the second planet to be set on auxiliary channel 2. So now what we can do is we can actually go into the group 1 settings, go to auxiliary channels, channel 2. So what we can do is we can bring this planet down and move it around or whatever we need just by adjusting those auxiliary channels. So we could just move this around, bring it left, right, wherever we need it. And we also have control over the rotation settings. So we can rotate it. Say if we didn't like how the rotation was inside the viewer, we can just adjust that here. Okay, I'm seeing that I probably will need to adjust this light right here. It's not powerful enough. So what we'll do is we'll just double click on it and we'll just increase the intensity. And we'll also make it not so saturated. So maybe something like that right there. And then we can just adjust the position of it. All right, this looks pretty good. So our next step will be the background and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing that we'll do is probably added some fractals in the background. So an easy way to get to that folder is to just click on your scene setup. So if you have any fractals loaded up inside of Element, you can just go quickly to the materials tab for one of those fractals, right click on it and go to show and explore. And that folder will just be right here. So what we can do is just hit OK on Element and then bring up that folder again. So we can just scroll through these, see which one we like better. You can just go through here. There's a lot of them. So there's a lot of different ones you can choose from. This one's pretty neat since it is purple. So let's go and select that one. And we'll just bring this right here into our project. Okay. So once that loads up, drop this in and then scale it down. And then we'll just change this to screen mode. So there you can see we have our fractal. We'll want to put this behind the Element 3D layer. So we'll just drag this down below everything. And we can just kind of rotate this in place. Turn down the opacity. And we can pretty much just duplicate this in different areas, keep rotating it. If you want to rotate a layer, you just hit W as a hotkey, and then you can just rotate it wherever you would wish. It makes things a little bit quicker. All right, and then let's duplicate one more. Let's kind of rotate this way. And we can also change these to 3D layer. So we'll just select all these and just go down. If you see this weird effect, just select all your fractals before you start usually, and just hit AA on your keyboard, and we'll just shut off except lights. That way they're not being adjusted by any lights inside of After Effects. If you're going to be doing any sort of animation inside of After Effects, you'll definitely want to put these in Z space, like some farther away, some closer to the camera. You can also do that inside of Element. Using these planes, you can just kind of scatter them around and create sort of like a nebula or a cloud. It's really easy to do, and it doesn't take much time. I just got to play around with it and get the right look. So on our next step, let's go ahead and add some stars. So let's hit Control Y, and we'll just label this as stars, and hit OK. And you're going to see that looks a little bit weird, but that's all right. We're just going to type in fractal. And as you can see, here's fractal noise, and we'll just drag that onto our stars layer. So there it is. You may want to zoom in a little bit for this. The first thing what we'll want to do is go into our transform settings and just scale this down a lot. Maybe about 3. 3 is usually a good number. So the star's a little bit bigger and noticeable. Next, we'll increase our contrast, and we'll lower our brightness. Okay, and then another trick, since this all looks like one big image plane of just stars, we can actually duplicate our star layer, and we'll just reset this. And if we go to toggle switches and modes, we can just turn the track matte to Luma matte. What it'll actually do is darken some areas in here, depending on which areas are darker on this layer of fractal noise. So what we can do is if we shut off the eye on our stars, and we'll actually label this, if you enter into your keyboard, we'll call this stars matte. Okay. And as you can see, if you increase the contrast and adjust your brightness, you can see how that's kind of adjusting which area gets darker or lighter. We don't want this to be too intense, just enough to where there's sort of a pattern. You can also bring down your scale, and what that'll do is it won't make it so intense. It'll just lower our contrast, maybe lower our brightness a little bit, and bring our contrast back down. We may decrease the number of stars by lowering our brightness and then just increasing our contrast a little bit just to keep the brightness there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The next thing that we'll add is maybe some lens flares. It plays a huge role in rendering. It makes things look amazing because lens flares are amazing. So let's hit Control Y on our keyboard, and we'll just label this as flare. Hit OK. And we'll just go over to our Video Copilot folder right here and drag on optical flares. I'll just drag this above everything, and we'll switch it over to screen mode just for now. Okay, and we'll just add this right here. And let's hit on options. Okay, so now we're in optical flares. The first thing you'll want to do is go to your preset browser, select a flare you like. It doesn't have to be the one I choose. It could be really any one of these. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to use this one right here. So there we go. So let's hit OK. It loads up. And we're going to want to change this to purple. So let's just go into our color. And let's just tweak the color a bit. And now that I'm looking at it, it would be better to turn this onto add mode. So let's just change this to add mode. And then also what I like to do is add usually a fractal, just like one bright one in the scene. So what I'll do is I'll go back into my fractal folder, and I'm just going to get Fractal 7. This is another good purple one. So I'll just drag this in. Once that loads up, we'll just kind of go down. We'll bring this above our star layers, and we'll change this to add mode as well. And then we'll just scale it down and change it to a 3D layer. And we'll also do that same trick. We'll just hit AA on our keyboard, and we'll just shut off accept lights. So now let's just move this right up here, and we can just rotate this fractal wherever we would like. Also, the color isn't looking too great on this flare, so another plugin I recommend getting is the Video Copilot Color Vibrance plugin. It really brings out the colors, and they did an amazing job on that. So we'll use that to color our flare. So what we'll do is we'll type in tint, and we'll just drag this onto our flare. So we want it just black and white. So as you can see here. And then we'll go over to the Video Copilot folder, and we'll drag on VC Color Vibrance. So now we'll change this to more of a purple color. So I'll just kind of bring it maybe like right there. You can brighten it up if we need to, increase the gamma. This kind of makes it choked a little bit. So depending on what you need, you can just use those settings. So let's go ahead and unsolo this. As you can see, it's pretty bright. So let's just adjust this. We can also adjust our camera view. So the next part we'll work on is our color correction and maybe a few other render settings like glow and things like that. So let's go into element, and let's go into render settings, glow, and let's hit enable glow. And this may make things go a bit crazy, but don't worry. Let's just change the threshold. We'll only want the brighter areas to really glow. Just change the color of this, increase the brightness, and then also increase the radius. Okay, so that's good. So we'll leave that right there. Let's go ahead now and create our color correction. So let's go to new adjustment layer. Okay, and then we'll just type in curves. And we'll just drag this onto here, drag this above everything else, and we'll just hit enter on our keyboard and label this as CC for color correction. Okay, so now we can just adjust these curve settings. Okay, and then the next part for our color correction would probably be good to add some overall glow to this entire scene. So we'll just type in glow, scroll down, then go to glow, and this is going to go a bit crazy. So let's just select mostly all of the bright areas, and we'll just increase the radius of this. And then what we'll do is we'll also decrease our intensity. So we just kind of want this effect to add a little bit more color. Also, since your scenes will be mostly one color, so this is mainly just a purple kind of setting, what we'll do is we'll go over to our glow colors and we'll change this to A and B colors. So what this means is we can actually change the color of the glow. So let's adjust our threshold a little bit. Okay, just like that. Maybe increase the intensity a little bit more. And then let's just kind of add some color. Probably make this that kind of really bright purple. And then the next color B, can be more of the darker kind of purple. So kind of like that. So the next thing that you're probably wondering is how to add that kind of glow around the planets. And to tell you the truth, it's pretty easy. I've figured out a way of doing it. It does require a little bit more computer power, but it's worth it and it looks good. So it'd probably be one of those things that you'd leave off to the very last thing and then you just hit render. So let me show you how to do that. So we'll click on element and we'll actually duplicate it. It's just like that. And immediately let's just turn the output on to illumination. Okay, so this is only going to show up our illumination map and all that. So let's hit scene setup. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove everything except for the planets themselves. So what we'll do is we can just delete our fractal folder and a rocks folder. And same for this planet. We'll just delete our fractals and our rocks. Okay, so now you can see we have our two planets. And what we're going to actually do is just make this a flat color. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a black material and then we'll apply illumination map, except we'll turn up the Fresnel to just get that sort of edge on these planets. So what we'll do is we'll hit reset, and then I'll just copy this material over to this planet since we want these to be linked. And then we'll just scroll down a little bit and we'll just change our diffuse color to black. And we'll turn down our glossy all the way down, our specular multiplier all the way down, and our environment multiplier all the way down. So we should just have this kind of black planet now. Okay, so then the next step, we'll go down to our illumination settings and we'll just increase the intensity. Usually this depends on what your scene is, but we'll just go to 100 right now. And then we'll increase our Fresnel value all the way. But as you can see, that's not enough because we're still having it kind of mixed in right here. So what we'll do is we'll increase the Fresnel bypass. And we'll just increase that, and you can see how it just goes to the very edge. And now we just kind of have this white halo around the planet. So what we'll do is we'll just hit OK. Okay, so now you can see we just have this kind of outline around the planets now. So what we'll do is we'll actually go down to this layer and label it as element edge glow. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll change the transfer mode to add. And you can kind of see how it has this outline on these planets now. An easy way to change this outline color is you could also use a curves adjustment, a tint adjustment, or you could also just go down and use this VC Color Vibrance plugin again. So you can see how just by putting this, you can see that little glow around the planet. It actually does look pretty nice, except we'll need to change the color. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Just change this up to the color that we want. Be kind of like a purplish color. You can also increase the brightness of this. And if you wanted more of a fall off, you could also just go back into the settings and then we'll just adjust this Fresnel bypass value to be a little bit more on this side. So you can kind of see how that's adjusting. It's a little bit intense, so we can lower our brightness. And there we go. All right, so that looks pretty good. Hopefully this helped you on how to set up these scenes. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, we actually do include a rendering composition, this one right here. You can see how we set up everything, and this comes with the Fractal Rama Plus Locus Pack bundle. So if you get the bundle, you'll get this project file, and you can go in, you can go into the scene setup. Okay, you can see our planets right here. And what we can do is we can add in another planet in these places or just kind of move them around. So let's add this lava planet. Okay, so there it is. And then we can just scale it down right about there. And we'll just delete this other planet. So now we have this one right here. And we could just rotate this wherever we like. And we could also create another planet. So say if we wanted to add in planet 1, we just move this right over here. So once you have it in place, you can just delete that smaller planet that's underneath. And we'll just select this one. And we could just kind of rotate it up. And if we wanted it to match, we could also just change the illumination texture on this one. So we could just right click on the illumination map, go to show and explore. And we'll just drag in our fire illumination map. And you'll see that change. So there we go. So now we have these 2 fire planets. And we can hit OK. Okay, so there we go. You can also adjust any lighting that you may want to move around. So if we just grab maybe like this one, we can maybe just put it more towards the edge of these planets. Maybe drag it down a little bit. You can really see that we're getting some really nice color and lighting on this planet right here. So it's really interesting. You can just move this around. It renders pretty quickly. And it's pretty awesome. All right, so I think that's it for this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I wanted to just cover everything I could in the amount of time I had. But hopefully this gave you a better understanding of what comes in Fractal Rama and in Locus Pack. Also, be sure to check out our website. As you can see, we have our 2 products here, Fractal Rama and Locus Pack. And we also have the bundle where you can save 20% off. So you can get that, save some money, and create some awesome renders. Also, if you have any questions, if you look through here, there's quite a bit of info that we put. So usually this can answer most of your questions just by scrolling through here. So yes, this has been Francis Check with Video Realm Media, and have fun.